How's it going? Good evening. Or good butt ass early in the morning. I just realized it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. No, after my last vid, and having my hot cocoa, passed out and all that for a few hours and woke up and all that, probably like 8, 9 o'clock. Wasn't even trying to. You'd say the vodka and the hot cocoa did something, but no, there wasn't enough in there for that. Although, something to do with hot cocoa, when I drink hot cocoa, it makes me tired. Coffee the same way. Right now, though, it's just chocolate milk. No, I sitting here, wanting to head north at least for the weekend, for a few days because I want to go see family. And, I already know that we were going to get snow here. I already knew that we were going to get snow here this week, here this week and all that stuff. It's just, wasn't sure how much. Well, then I get this alert here tonight. It's going to be like, starts tomorrow, and then from there, end up with a nice heavy snow after that. Supposed to have a good heavy snow starting Wednesday night going into Thursday. So up on the mountain probably here tonight. It's probably snowing right now. 10, 11 miles up the road. But my best guess is we're probably going to get about anywhere from 6 inches to a foot of snow, which I'm not really excited about because I want to go up north to go see family, and I'm not looking forward to the idea of, not just driving there is going to be easier because the snow and shit won't necessarily be settled onto the road so much. It'll be thawed on the road itself, but on the way back, depending on how things go, have a little concern. Don't want to come back to, at least a sheet of ice on the highway that doesn't go away, for the next several months. That does happen. You'll end up with at least a couple inches or so of snow or ice pack on the road, and it won't go away. They'll scrape it, they'll gravel it, do all that shit, and it doesn't really go away. But I figured this is probably going to be my only chance of being able to get up north before things get too bad. Because, if it's going to start snowing. It's going to, probably within the next, probably next week or following week, we're going to end up with too much snow for me to really want to make that kind of drive up there. And I won't be able to be up there for Christmas or anything. So, nope, I'll be down here again. And, unless, like Thanksgiving, I end up spending Christmas with that person, I'll end up spending it alone. I'm prepared for it either way. I don't have expectations, and I don't hold my breath until basically the day of, and it's like, somebody's there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. And that's just kind of how it is. I don't have expectations on that stuff anymore. I haven't for a long time. But no, hopefully here shortly, because I'm trying. Well, I was trying. I didn't realize it was that late, but trying to get myself to relax enough so I can at least nap for a few more hours, and then later on, I want to be able to try and go for a walk up the mountain. It's been too long, and I know here in the next week or so, I'm still gonna go up the mountain with my axe and go find a small Christmas tree. It's what I've done every year, even when I end up sitting here by myself a couple times, I'd still go get a Christmas tree, go hike up the mountain, find a small one, or usually what I do is I find a taller tree, and I look for ones that have a good top to them, or that have a decent top that work for a good Christmas tree, and then I just top the tree, and it doesn't hurt it. It's gonna keep growing. It's when I try not to harvest the whole tree type thing. I try to find one that's up tall enough that if I have to climb it, I can, or I find one that, like, last year I found one that was just right next to an old cut tree stump that I could use the stump as kind of a stool to stand on to get up and top the tree and get like the top like 6-7 feet. So I mean that's normally what I do. I still keep looking at homes, doing all that stuff, and it's like I'm kind of just it's like I want to start making offers on homes, but I don't want to do that till I know this place is sold. Like I want to know that it's sold. Because once I start doing that, then once this place is sold, then I can start making offers. Because at this point now, there's 2 homes that I'm actually hoping don't sell right away until after that, so I can at least have a chance to, once this home sells, put an offer on one of them. Because I found 2 more other than one that I'm actually really digging on. That's still, no matter what, I still keep leaning towards between location and the home and the property. I found one that's just as nice, about the same price, just a little bit bigger yard. Instead of being like 0.45, it's like 0.63 acres. I'd rather have an acre or more of land, to be honest. I'd rather have some, like this place, I'd rather have, that acre or more. Just, I could, I have weighed out the option of just after selling this place, putting a home on my other property and, get one put on there and like a manufacturer type thing and have, do the off-grid shit there, but there's some things I would very much do differently. The money spent on the solar here, I would, in all honesty, I'd be spending on either geothermal electric or something like that. If I could afford or had to invest, an investor that could help me on the small scale moment, get to work to build a functioning scale, generator that I've been wanting to build pretty bad, that I think would be handy, I would go that route, because it's one of those things that would be able to be scaled up to a large size. The fact that Oregon is doing away with a few dams that provide electricity, those generators are already proven to be able to produce enough power to supply electricity to, towns and cities. They're more efficient than a fucking solar panel, that's for sure. And so, when I hear about that stuff, it kind of bothers me and pisses me off a little bit, because it's like those generators are still perfectly good. And instead of, obviously trying to go build another dam and reuse them in another dam, why not fucking repurpose them? If the state, allowed me at least, like, let's say a half dozen of those things, and I had the backing and some other people, obviously, with some bigger brains than I do to help me on the design of things, I'd be repurposing those things, and they would fit into a much smaller facility on a much smaller area than even a fucking solar farm would take. So it's like, I see that stuff, and it's like, I'd love to get one of those to go build a not just be able to afford to be able to build a scale size working model so that they can be like, okay, this would work. And it's like, yeah, it would. But to get a full size one and build one and just put it on my property on the other side of the lake, that would be fucking awesome. Because I would actually be producing enough power off of one of those things that I could pretty much supply power to almost every other home on that mountain right over there. There's not like a shit ton of people. And most people out there have to live off grid because unless you're living along the main road, there's no power going out to the different homes. That's why I didn't, originally I was going to have a manufactured home put on my other property before moving down here. But the guy, just the 3 months going back and forth with him and him pussyfoot, and it's like nothing getting started and all that shit. It was like, you don't know. I'm just going to look for a home and figure it out from there. And so, part of me has weighed that option out. To have something like that put on the property. You would obviously have to have well and septic put in out there. And then I would have to run an off-grid system out there. But again, like I said, I don't want to deal with fucking solar. You spend that, it works. Don't get me wrong, it works. It does. Yet, unless, there are people out there who do it, and a lot of it is when you got these families out there living off grid, they're using solar and all that. There's more than one person, doing repairs, maintenance, upkeep, and all that shit on that home and property, and even that system. Usually both, the landowners, it's usually married couples, and they both know how to fucking keep up on that stuff. They both learn together and all that, and otherwise, you got one person doing all the work, so the other one can have all the fun. It can't be done. It's too much. And for one person, that's when you just might as well just go get a motorhome or something like that. Live off grid that way. Because it does. It becomes a lot of maintenance for one person to do all that shit by themselves. And they really don't have anybody they can trust or rely on to help them out. That's why a lot of homesteaders, unless we were born in in a generation where homesteading was a norm, our generation isn't built for it anymore because we've relied too much on the digital age. I mean, that's our whole generation. And so it's like our body's physicalities are not necessarily built as well as my grandparents' generation. I consider that generation the generation of Iron Men and women. Because they've gone through a lot of really fucked up things, and they also had to work through life where they didn't have computers, robotics, and all this other shit to do things for them. They had to purely use their own brains and bodies, where I want to say for most part, in the 60s and into this, the 50s and on up, we started to slowly start relying more and more on mechanization, and then eventually into the digitization and robotics and all this shit, and that realistically has affected, unless you're going to these other countries that aren't doing all this shit, it still affects the I guess you could say the evolution of the people themselves too. But I still enjoy small scale farming, hobby farming, micro farming, that type of stuff. Large scale gardening. I enjoy all that, and I really like doing that. That was my hope down here, but every time we got close to getting something done, bullshit would happen. So, yeah. I mean, the only reason why I don't really want to put a home on my other property is because I still don't want to be in an area where I still don't really feel welcome, and I don't know anybody in this sense, and with all the shit talking that's going on, the threats, and I still don't want to be in an area like this. And I mean, I'm just as close to town, from here as I would be at my property. It's the same distance, it's the same drive, and so it's like I don't really, there's a lot of risk that's being weighed. I am looking at possibly finding somebody to buy that property up. And it's actually 2 lots side by side. You know, and get those bought up so that way it's just added, I guess you could say added funds. But don't sell it, don't sell it. It just means I have a place that if it came down to it in the future, you know, like I said before, the next 5 or so years, doing well enough to be able to move back, I would have a place to basically move to and put a home on at that point if I decide to do it then. But see what happens type thing. My primary focus right now is just doing my best to stay patient while this house is selling, and I'm just, on my own, like 90% of the time, like alone. And so it's just trying to stay collected, stay patient, and just stay focused on getting through this part of the situation of the home selling, so then I can go on to the next step, and that's getting a new home. And then the next step from there is to start getting my own business going. Where I want to move, where I'm hoping for, like one of those, well, I think there's 2 of those houses in that area, actually. As long as one of those is still available, I might jump on it depending on what the inspections are like, because I'm not gonna, I have to be careful about window shopping, being so many miles away from a home, not being able to buy one, and not, I get it, the inspection's done, but there's still going to be things that even inspections may not find. And it won't be found until you get there and you're elbows deep and moving in, and you're like, fuck. So, yeah. I went through that here. Yeah, pest inspection. Everything's great. There's no this, no that. Really, there's rot in the floors, which I fixed. And then we end up finding out when we come in to start, getting things cleaned up, start getting things prepared to do repairs. That was the one time my buddy Nate came down with, and we noticed on top of the fireplace mantle. At first we thought it was like mouse poo or something. Like, what the fuck? And so we're cleaning this stuff off because the house had been empty for a good 10 years at that point. We had squatters living in here. We had all kinds of shit that had been, people living in this place, that weren't supposed to over that time period. And so when he took this, one of the little pry bars that we have, set and peel back the paneling a little bit to see what's going on, all this bat guano comes rolling out of the wall. We're like, oh no. I'm like, fuck this. We don't know what's in that. We don't know if there's any diseases, anything like that in this stuff, So, yeah, probably good that we don't stay here and have all this bat shit dust up in the air and be breathing it in. Yeah, it was genuinely concerned. So we ended up leaving the next morning. Went back north, took him home. God, I'm tired of my nose fucking itching. And ended up having to pay that was when I had to sell my tractor and all that stuff so I could pay, not only get the electric done here in the house, but also I'll pay for the bat removal here. It costs us like $5,000, and I had to sell my tractor and all that shit so I could afford to get help, pay all that. Because I did have some help on paying some of that from the family, because that was just like, holy shit, that was completely. We knew there was going to be issues. We did not expect, especially after a pest inspection, that the house would have an entire colony of bats living in it. And that was up in the attic and roof space. And so we had to pay, because they're protected, brown bats and all that are protected here. You can't do anything with them. All you can do is wait until they're gone. They put these little one-way trap-like doors where they can get out, but then they can't get back in. And then that's how it's done, and then they have to find a new place to basically nest, roost, whatever you call it. And the same colony that was in this house, a part of it was off in the neighbor's house over here when they bought it, and then there was a part of it that was in the cabin back behind here, and all 3 homes were dealing with the same colony of bats. And we're talking like thousands of bats. And so, yeah. I have to be a lot more cautious when it comes to buying a home. I have to be more cautious when it comes to realtors, because if the realtor is going to be kind of shady to me, I'm going to go to a different realtor. I'm not going to deal with one that's, I like to try and make this, the buys and the sell, the whole purchase sell process or whatever, or purchase and buying or whatever you call it. That whole process when it comes to realtor, I try to make things as easy as possible, because I don't want to deal with all the added bullshit either. Just like them, just like the other homeowners. You don't want to deal with all that added bullshit. But if I get a hint of the smell of bullshit from another realtor from even over there, of possibly getting stuck dealing with the same shit there as we dealt with the realtor here, getting this house. Because the realtor I have selling this house, I love that lady. She's awesome. From Remax, she's really fucking cool. And has been really helpful through this whole process. But, yeah. Or, yeah, I won't work with someone like that. I'll end up, if I have to, I'll hunt someone down over there online and be, okay, yeah, this is what's going on. I really need an honest, real realtor that I can actually work with, that communicates, talks, and all that stuff. Because, yeah, the one I was dealing with, she was being, a little flaky, so I intentionally went to another realtor in that town, a competing one at a different office for a different branch. And it was a privately owned one for, of all things, And it's funny, her reaction when she found out that I had went to a Mexican-owned realty company that was over there. I was like, I'm going to go to them. They're, I don't know what it's like over there for certain communities over there, but it's like, they're probably going to, are going to be a little more professional about it, because given the atmosphere, how people tend to be towards certain cultures of people, they want to make sure that they got, not only have their customers happy and pleased, but they got those good reviews and all that stuff, so that they can get new customers later for more homes to, that they're selling or whatever. But I'm getting a little irritated with some of these others that, they're like, oh, you don't live here? Okay, well, I'm gonna half-ass this situation. Where that realty office that I contacted, they were, fuck yeah, let's do this. And so it was like, it was already telling me right there, and it's like the fact that I live in Oregon, to go move towards basically one of 5 or 6 states in the Bible Belt, and the way they act over there, oh, you're from Oregon. So you seem to think that everybody in Oregon is from Portland, don't you? If you looked at the Oregon map, you'd realize that all the bullshit in Oregon comes from the little corner called the Willamette Valley. And a lot of the people outside of that do not put up with that type of bullshit. We don't have patience for it. That's why I moved out of there, because I don't not just have patience for that. I don't do well when in large populaces, and when the metro is basically swallowing fucking Oregon City, Canby, Woodburn, and all those places. No, it's time to go. A town that I lived in where there was barely 9,000 people, and it's breaking over 40,000, going towards 50,000 people now. No, that place was barely built for that. The streets there, the city planning on the roads was kind of bad, because it's hard the way everything's built there for them to even widen roads too much before they're like, this business or this house is gonna have to go, or you're gonna lose a chunk of your front yard. We'll reimburse you for it. At least you got a backyard. So, but I just, as is, places that I'm looking at to move to, they have a similar population. And so, yes, there's a big part of me that I'm having to face some of my anxieties when it comes to dealing with populated areas. Yeah. I mean, I realize that I can't, to some degree, as much as I prefer to have a place like, say, like right on the edge of town, so I can just like whether walk, ride a bike, or even drive to town 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's right there, and the reason why I say prefer edge of town is it's usually where you're gonna have your slightly larger properties, where I can actually go. I could have my large garden, my hobby farm, and ride my 3-wheeler if I want, and all that shit. But I don't mind if I have to live in the middle of town, so long as like I'm not stuck with this little itty bitty fucking yard. And I big house, small house, I don't mind. I prefer to have like a rather large yard that not only my animals can run in, but like I said, garden, micro farming, that type of stuff. Be able to ride my 3-wheel around. But I got to get used to being around people again. And I realized between living up there, down here, and all that stuff, there's certain communities, and certain I can communicate and actually be around certain, like, I can actually be around a populace of people in certain places. Just other places like up there, there's just a lot of fucking hatred coming out of there. Down here, for most part, I do alright in town. I still don't do good in the stores. And I'll have my good days and my bad days. I'll have really bad anxiety going into a store. Other days, I'll be alright so long as I stick to my bubble. So, but now, if you haven't noticed, I'm just kind of bored. And don't have a whole lot to do, really. I mean, there's a lot of shit I can do, but a lot of it right now is just keeping the place clean and that type of stuff. And keep things swept, mopped. Till this fucking house sells, because I don't know how many times I've said I don't have it in me anymore to keep dealing with this place. I really don't. Time to find a home that I'll actually enjoy, and that's kind of where I'm at. That's where this one house that I'm really hoping does not sell before this place does, because I'm hoping that it doesn't, because then I can get the inspections done, and then I'm hoping the inspections do well on that one, because that home there, I can't help it, I really like it. It's a nice house. The only thing that gets me is like it's so bright in that home, like white walls and all. I'd feel like I'd have to wear at least like latex gloves or whatever, or those white gloves everywhere in that house, because I'd be afraid to get anything dirty. It's like, yeah, definitely shoes and shit are coming off at the door. And when it comes to dogs being able to go in and outside, depending on how the back end, the backyard entry is and all that stuff, definitely gonna figure out some way of where their little doggy feet can be wiped off before they even get in the house. Because it's like some of those places, like I would never dream of living in, even though for most people those are just like middle class homes. And to me they're really nice, and so I get anxiety when I go into a rich home. I feel uncomfortable. It's because I'm afraid of breaking something, making something dirty, anything like that. Because where I come from, it's like two sides of the tracks, and so that's why I realized when it comes down to certain people's families, I'll never fit in, because what they love is money and material things, and I will never fit into that family. And so, yeah, just the idea of just being able to live in a nicer home than this is good. Is nice. I enjoy the idea of it, because I know it's going to happen. I just have to be patient for it. I just have to be patient, and then I have to be ready to make that fucking drive. But it'll be alright. So, anyways, I've rambled on for 30 minutes. Got to sit here and enjoy my chocolate milk. Don't have much left. No, I didn't fill this whole thing. I only filled it to about here. Somewhere in there. So, yeah. Have a good night. Have a good morning, good day, whatever. Stay safe out there, and thanks for watching. Late.